Yo, I'm AyoChikiMoko and welcome back to another Apex Legends video where today we'll be breaking down stats for the new Season 6 weapon, the Volt, breaking it down to the millisecond, and then we're going to compare its stats to other submachine guns to see if the Volt should be used as a secondary or if the Volt will be better suited as a primary. Because with my testing and taking a close look at the Volt's stats stacked up against both assault rifles and submachine guns, we see we have a weapon that can be better with the assault rifles rather than the submachine guns. And then something else I found very interesting with my testing is how the Volt competes with Fortified Legends. But with that, I'm AyoChikiMoko, and if this is your first time on the channel, I want to say welcome and hope I come back again so I can help you on your journey in becoming the best legend to walk the Outland. And you already know how to do that, so let's get into the video. Starting with our damage, and what we end up seeing is that with the Volt, it has the highest damage in the submachine gun category with a damage of 16 to the body and a damage of 13 to the legs, and then for our shots to head we have a damage multiplier of 1.5, which gives us a damage of 24 to the head. And then with Season 6, with the addition of Rampart and her amped cover, we see for our amp shots we get a damage of 19 to the body, 15 to the legs, and 29 to the head. And then for our fire rate we have a speed of 13 shots per second, which is actually pretty slow for the submachine gun category, with both the Prowler and the R99 being way faster. However, with the R99 being the care package weapon this season, and the Volt's DPS that we'll get into later, we see that the Volt actually may be able to fill that gap that the R99 left. But let's take a look at the Volt's burn through max speed, where we will see it will take you 1.50 seconds to burn through your clip of 19 shots, which is again pretty slow for the submachine gun category, but comparing it to the assault rifles, we actually see it's on the high side. But it's when we take a look at the Volt's DPS, that's where we see the Volt really shine. Because even though the Volt has a slower fire rate compared to the other submachine guns, we see that the Volt comes out on top for the DPS of 208 due to its damage, which is actually the highest DPS for ground loot weapons other than a devotion. So with the Volt's DPS being so high, let's take a look at our time to kill for the Volt, where we see it takes 0.55 seconds for 100 damage, 0.65 seconds for 125, 0.75 seconds for 150, 0.90 seconds for 175, and then for 200 damage we see it will take you a total time of 1.04 seconds. And with the release of Season 6 came some really interesting changes for armor, where we actually see we don't have 225 damage armor anymore. So with the Volt's time to kill, we're going to compare it to the other weapons, and what we end up seeing for the submachine gun category, we actually see it comes out on top for time to kill, and then for our assault rifles we see it comes out just faster than the R301 but slower than the flatline, which I actually have gun breakdowns for both, so if you haven't checked those out already, I'll be sure and leave those in the description below. But for now, let's take a look at the amount of shots it takes to down someone, and then we'll take a look at exactly what percentage of your magazine you're allowed to miss before you have to reload. So for 100 damage we see it will take 7 shots, for 125 you will need 8, for 150 you will need 10 shots, then for 175 you will need 11 shots, and then finally for 200 damage we see it will take you a total of 13 shots. As for what percentage of your clip you're allowed to miss, we see for the base Volt you're allowed to miss 12 shots for 100 damage, then you can miss 11 shots for 125, 150 you can miss 9, for 175 damage you can miss 8, and for 200 damage we can see we can miss 6 shots. So with the Volt, choosing this weapon over other primary assault rifles, we see that the Volt is actually not very forgiving for missing your shots, unlike the other assault rifles. So in order to use the Volt to its max potential, you really got to master the recoil, which in the case for the Volt is actually very easy in my opinion. And what I would compare the Volt's recoil to is a mixture between both the Havoc and the R301, due to the fact that I feel like the Volt has the kick of the Havoc but has the fire rate of the R301, which ends up giving us a moderately difficult recoil, kinda. It's honestly just mainly horizontal recoil up until the very end. Alright, now let's take a look at the hipfire, comparing it to other weapons that have similar hipfire spread. And what we end up seeing is that the spread for the Volt is actually kinda large compared to the Prowler SMG, but it's still fairly accurate with firing your weapon at hipfire. But now we're gonna take a look at our last couple handling stats before we get into the attachments. So let's take a look at the Volt's base magazine size of 19 shots and a potential damage of 304. And then for our aim down sight time, we actually have a very fast time of 0.18 seconds. But then for our final base handling stats, we're going to take a look at our draw times, where we actually have an unequipped time and an equipped time. And if you want more of an explanation of what exactly unequipped time and an equipped time is, you can check out my Spitfire breakdown up in the top right hand corner where my dope little system is pointing, where I go more in depth on those terms classified as put away and takeout. But a brief explanation is that the unequipped time is the time that it takes for you to put away your weapon, and the equipped time is how long it takes for you to pull out your weapon. So So for the Volt's unequipped time, we see it will take you 0.45 seconds, and then for our equipped time, it will take you 0.40 seconds. This is actually very slow for both submachine guns and assault rifles. So what I recommend is to always prioritize getting a stock onto the Volt first over any other weapon, because as we will see later in the video, the stock attachment is crucial in making the Volt a competitive weapon with other assault rifles and submachine guns. But then we're going to take a look at our final base handling stats for the Volt, and that's the reload time, where we see that the Volt has a very average time for submachine guns with a time of 2.28 seconds for an empty clip, and then we have a speed of 1.56 seconds for a tactical reload. And with that, we finished covering all the base stats for the Volt, but now we're going to get into the Volt's attachments and see how the Volt can become one of the most versatile weapons in the entire Apex Legends arena, being able to play both the roles of a submachine gun and an assault rifle. Starting with our extended mags, what we end up seeing for a level 1 extended mag, we get only 2 more shots with a total of 21, and then for a level 2 we get a total of 23 shots, and then finally for a level 3 extended mag we get a grand total of only 25 shots, and that's the lowest amount of shots for a level 3 extended mag. So as I mentioned earlier, the Volt has absolutely no room for error in the terms of missing your shots. And then for our potential damage, for a level 1 we get a total damage of 336, and then we get potential damage of 368 for a level 2, and then finally we get a total of 416 total potential damage for a level 3, which is actually quite high considering the little amount of ammunition you get in a single clip. And then with the extended mags, I will also cover the reload speeds due to the fact that the extended mags usually have the passive ability of improving these times. So with level 1 extended mag, we see we get a time of 2.25 seconds, again for an empty clip, and then for our tactical reload we get a time of 1.56 seconds, and then for level 2 we get a time of 2.15 seconds for an empty clip, and then 1.46 seconds for a tactical reload, and then for level 3 we get a time of 2.02 seconds for our empty clip, and then for our tactical reload we get a time of 1.40 seconds, and these times are pretty average for the submachine gun category. And then for the assault rifles, the Volt just smokes everyone. And then taking another look at the recoil, we have 3 barrel mods that we can put on, and I don't really see a difference in the recoil until you get to about the level 3 barrel mod, so I would recommend prioritizing the barrel mod last on putting it onto the Volt. So if you have another weapon such as the R301 or the Devotion, go ahead and put the barrel mod on those first. Alright, but now we're going to get into the attachment that changes so many different handling stats, and that's the attachment that you'll always want to prioritize putting onto the Volt, and that's the stock. Let's start with what the stock says it improves, and that's the idle sway. And I actually see a decent amount of difference between the idle sways. However, with as much change that there is to idle sway, it's the aim down sight time that really shocks me the most, because we go from a time that's already really quick, and that's 0.18 seconds, all the way down to 0.15 seconds for both level 1 and level 2 stocks. And then when we put the purple stock onto the Volt, that's when we get a lightning quick aim down sight time of 0.12 seconds. But for the Volt, like I said earlier, the aim down sight time wasn't the issue. The issue was the Volt's draw time, because for both the submachine gun category and the assault rifle category, the Volt's draw time was very slow. So let's take a look at our new draw times with each stock and see if it improves. So for level 1 we get an unequipped time of 0.45 seconds, and then for our equipped time we get a time of 0.35 seconds, and then for level 2 we get an unequipped time of 0.35 seconds, and then for our tactical aim down sight time we get a time again of 0.35 seconds, and then for our final level 3 stock we get an unequipped time of 0.32 seconds and a takeout time of 0.32 seconds. And with those very unique draw times, we actually see the Volt sit in between both the submachine gun category and the assault rifle category, being faster than assault rifles but not as quick as a submachine gun. So the Volt isn't like this weird middle ground. But with that, we've covered all the stats for the Volt attachments and all. Is that the Volt is like the first of its kind. It's a hybrid between both the assault rifle category and the submachine gun category. And with the removal of the R99 from the ground loot, I definitely think that the Volt will be a worthy contender of replacing that role. But now we're going to move on to what makes Apex Legends so unique, and that's how they have their legends being classed in different roles in the Battle Royale, and how that changes how you approach different legends with the same weapon. But real quick, if you haven't enjoyed the video, please hit that like button. I promise I won't be mad at you, because it lets me know that you guys are enjoying these in-depth breakdowns, and leave a comment down below of what weapon you guys want me to do next. And while you're down there, be sure to hit that subscribe button and ring that notification bell so I can keep you up to date about everything Apex Legends related. But with that, let's finish out this video. We're going to start with our low profile legends. This includes Wraith, Pathfinder, Lifeline, and Watson. So for our damage for the low profile legend, we have a damage of 17 to the body and the legs, and then for our shots to the head we get a damage of 25. And then for our amped wall shots we get a damage of 20 to the body and the legs, and then for our shots to the head we we get a damage of 30. Factoring our 17 damage to the body into our DPS, we get a new DPS of 221 against low profile legends. Then for our shots to kill, we see for 100 damage it will take you 6 shots, for 125 you will need to hit 8, for 150 you will need to hit 9, for 175 you will need to hit 11, and then for 200 damage you will need to hit 12 shots. And then for our thick boys Gibraltar and Caustic, this is where we see a change, but it's not as drastic as I originally thought for Fortified Legends, because what we end up seeing is that they will take a damage of 14 to the body, 11 to the legs, and 20 to the head, which is honestly still great damage compared to the other submachine guns like the R99, where its damage drops all the way down to 9 to the body, 8 to the legs, and 14 to the head. And though we have a lower damage for the Volt against Fortified Legends, we still have a DPS of 182, and with that DPS it takes the #1 spot for the most DPS against Fortified Legends. So with that DPS, we're going to take a look at our shots to kill, and we'll end up seeing for 100 damage it will take 8 shots, for 125 it will take 9, for 150 it will take 11, for 175 it will take 13, and then finally for 200 damage we see it will take you a total of 15 shots, which is honestly not too bad given the fact that the old R99 would take a total of 23 shots for 200 damage, an 8 shot difference. But my final thoughts on the Volt is that honestly it's my go-to weapon currently for my sweaty lobby kit, and it's due to the fact that the Volt bridges the gap between primary and secondary weapons, which makes my life so much easier when I'm trying to pick up another weapon, because I can always find myself comboing the Volt with just about anything and it'd be a decent combo. But if I had to choose another weapon to go with the Volt in a sweaty lobby, I am currently going with the Hemlock, especially with its new buff, and you can be sure that I'm going to be doing a gun breakdown on the Hemlock coming up real quick. If you want to make sure you know when that video drops and you want to check out the rest of my breakdowns, be sure to be a true legend, click that subscription button down below and ring that notification bell so I can keep you up to date about everything Apex Legends related. But with that, be sure to be the best you can be, and I'll see you in the next one.